welcome back to In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne, and today I have a haul and an unhaul. So, it is a lovely fallish day today. It was nice and chill in the morning, and the high I think is in the upper 60s if I remember correctly, and it's just a little bit overcast and the leaves are starting to turn. I don't think we're going to get a lot of color here in this area because we didn't have the right weather for it this summer, so I don't think it will be a big year for color, but it's definitely starting to feel like fall, so I am ready for it. I sprinkled a little nutmeg in my coffee just because nutmeg feels like fall to me. I don't know. So, in the past couple of weeks, my husband and I have gone on little book hunting missions for my benefit. He just goes to spend time with me. We went to little free libraries in our town, and I posted a short about that a couple weeks ago. And then we also more recently went to several thrift stores in our town, which we have a lot of thrift stores. We have a lot of thrift stores and we have a lot of coffee shops. It's a wonderful place to live. So we got, I got some books that I am really excited about for super cheap or free. So the first one, not super exciting, but this is the SparkNotes book that goes along with Farehnheit 451. My younger son, is in 7th grade, and he is going to be reading American literature this year in school. So far, he has read Tom Sawyer, and I forget the next one that they're doing, but on the list for this year is Farehnheit 451, which I kind of had wanted to read when my older son was in 7th grade, but I never got around to it. So I have a copy, and this time I'm going to get around to it. And when I saw this at the thrift store for like 50 cents, I was like, oh, you know, just in case I have questions. I like to go to the SparkNotes website if I'm reading a classic, just to kind of like if I'm lost, or if I have questions, or if I want confirmation that my line of thinking about what I'm reading is on target, more or less. Anyways, I like SparkNotes, the website, so I thought, I'll get the book. And if I have any questions while I'm reading the book. Then I found Everything She Didn't Say by Jane Kirkpatrick, which I have read one other book by her, and it was very good. It was a little bit on the dry side, but it was good. It says, in 1911, Carrie Strayhorn wrote a memoir sharing some of the most exciting events of 25 years of shaping the American West with her husband, railroad promoter and writer Robert Strayhorn. Nearly 10 years later, she's finally ready to reveal the secrets she hadn't told anyone, even herself. So then this is supposed to be, I think, like her journal of what she didn't say publicly, but what, you know, she really thought or what really happened. So it sounded really interesting. It's published by Arabella, so it's a Christian. Jane Kirkpatrick is a Christian author, so I'm looking forward to reading that at some point. I'm gonna save that one because that was exciting. That one too. This is one that I picked up at the free library, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, and it would seem to be perfect timing with October coming up, but I'm already reading a Dickens, so I kind of wanted to branch out into other things for October. And I have read Oliver Twist before, but I didn't have an actual copy, I don't think. So it's good to have that one. I also picked up this one at the free library. That's the author. Master and Commander is the title. And I was intrigued by this because I found out recently that the author was inspired by Jane Austen. Like, he greatly admired Jane Austen. Anyway, apparently it's like the male version of Jane Austen. So anything that's within 6 degrees of Jane Austen, sign me up for it. I'll read it. So I'm looking forward to that one, even though nautical stories are not my typical thing, but you know, it's good to branch out. This one is The Hidden Louisa May Alcott. The subtitle is A Collection of Her Unknown Thrillers. So Jo March in Little Women is semi-autobiographical for Louisa May Alcott. And in Little Women, she writes and sells her Blood and Thunder stories. I don't know if that's what she calls it in Little Women, but that was Louisa May Alcott's word for it, Blood and Thunder stories, for the very practical purpose of making money, because that's what sold quickly and for a great price, so she got a lot of money from that. So, but she wrote it under a pen name, which was only recently, and when I say recently, I mean within the past couple of decades or so, her pen name was discovered. A.M. Barnard was her pen name. I have read one of them, can't find it up here, but I have one, A Long Fatal Love Chase, that she wrote. That was actually pretty interesting. I actually thought it was, by today's standards, pretty tame, obviously. So, but it was good. So this one is shorter stories, I think. So like what she would publish in like newspaper, serials, whatever. So I am very curious about that, and it was like $1. So I also got this book, which I am pretty sure I checked out of the library when I lived in Maryland like 15 years ago or so, and did some of the recipes in it, but of course it was a library book, so I gave it back to the library. It's Natural Beauty at Home, more than 200 easy to use recipes for body, bath, and hair. And there was a time I even like made my own shampoo, but that did not go well. I stopped doing that. So now I buy shampoo and it's much better. But lots of other recipes for all kinds of stuff. I'm looking forward to dabbling in some of those. And then a couple cookbooks. So this is 15 minutes or less low carb recipes. 15 minutes or less. We'll see about that. And then Keto Diet Cookbook for Beginners, which I'm not sure about this format, guys. Like, I mean, all the recipes like squished on a page like that. I'm not sure if it was self-published maybe. I don't really know. The author is Elizabeth Cunningham. Maybe she's a blogger or something. But it says for busy people on a keto diet. I qualify for that. So anyway, I glanced through briefly at some of the recipes. Seemed like some good practical ones. Sometimes some of them, you know, have like weird ingredients or weird foods that nobody in my family is going to eat, and I barely want to eat. So it should be enjoyable food, right? So then my favorite finds from our thrift store shopping. I'm so excited about these. So awesome. First of all, look at this. Edgar Allan Poe, Complete Tales and Poems. Wow, that could do some damage to somebody. Wallop them in the head. Oh my goodness, isn't that beautiful? Hardbound. Look at that tiny writing on there. So I actually haven't read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe. I like some of his poetry. Very rhythmic, I guess. I don't know. It really just sticks with you, and very full of imagery, and the words, they just flow together so well. The biggest thing about Edgar Allan Poe is because I'm really, if I'm from anywhere, it's one of two places, Virginia or Maryland. And I grew up in Maryland. And so he's kind of a big deal in Maryland. There's a lot of mystery surrounding his grave. And for a long time, someone would lay flowers on there every year, but nobody ever was able to catch who it was. Anyway, he's kind of a big deal in Maryland. And of course, the Baltimore football team, the Ravens, is named after his poem. So I don't know, it's kind of like Old Bay. It's a Maryland thing. So I really like having this whole anthology of his works, and I will read some of them. It's too bad that Victober is only British authors because, I mean, I get it because, you know, American wasn't really Victorian because we didn't have a queen, but because there are some American authors from the same time period that I really love, like Louisa May Alcott and Edgar Allan Poe, and I totally would read those also. But there are so many other British authors that I want to read, and their books that I want to read too, so I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it would be awfully nice, timing wise, to have picked up those books by American authors from that time period and to have those on hand. But I have plenty of material for Victober, so it's all good. I'll just catch up later. And my other find that I was super excited about was this one by William Shakespeare, a similar edition. Is it the same? What edition? What is this? Barnes & Noble, Registered Trademarks of Barnes & Noble. An imprint of Sterling Publishing. Anyway, so Edgar Allan Poe and their edition of William Shakespeare Complete Plays, which is just amazing. Now, this wouldn't be super fun to read from necessarily. Look at that tiny print in 2 columns, right? And it's kind of big to hold. However, it's all of the plays. And it's beautifully bound. So a really nice dust jacket and just having them all in one place. Anyway, I really like that. I was very excited. Each of those was only $1. So, because that was the thrift store price for hardcover. And I looked and they didn't have like a special extra price. So I'm standing there at the checkout like, are they going to charge me more for these? Even though there's not a different price. Like it says all hardcovers, $1. And sure enough, she charged me $1. That's a no-brainer, people. That is a no-brainer. And it's a good thing I only paid $1 for them, because that brings me to my unhauls, which I have a big box over here. And I'm not going to go through all of them because there's quite a few and it's not very interesting. But one of the ones that I am unhauling is this one, which I totally forgot that I had. It is an older hardcover anthology, the Abbey Library. Now this one was published in Great Britain, although printed in Romania. Interesting. And it's more vintage. When was this one published? This one's older, so this one would be a little bit even harder to read from because it's just more fragile. It doesn't have a year. Weird. Okay. Anyways, so and this one, look, I mean, this one would be even harder. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So I am unhauling this one because I now have a slightly better, although I like vintage. That's really cool. I like this one better. So I'm going to keep that one. And apparently I paid $2 for that one, so nice. So not only did I have that anthology of a collection of William Shakespeare already, I also had, which I knew, several individual books of his plays. So find them. So I am unhauling those. Much Ado About Nothing, which I actually really liked this edition. It's the Folger Shakespeare Library, and I love how they have the archaic words, definitions, and any other notes like right on the page next to where they happen in the play. So convenient. Why don't all of the books do that? Really good. But I've now read Much Ado About Nothing a couple of times, and let's be honest, I basically have the movie memorized, so, you know. And then this one, The Taming of the Shrew, which I have also read, but also this one doesn't even have, okay, well, it has some footnotes in the back, but, you know, it's Wordsworth Classics. Anyway, it's not the best edition of it, you know, just kind of a inexpensive version, so unhauling that. And then this one is a vintage copy of 5 of his plays, but it's kind of the binding is coming apart, pages are wrinkled, And again, it does have the footnotes at the bottom of the page, which is nice, but maybe not as much as some of the other editions. So I figure those were not ones that I needed to keep. And then a couple of books that I realized that I had doubles of, so I kept the better copy. One is Great Expectations, and I have a hardbound copy of that, so getting rid of the paperback. And then I had two of the exact same edition of Arabella by Georgette Hare, but one was just in slightly better condition, so I'm gonna keep that one and unhaul that one. And the only other unhaul that I want to mention really is this one, which has the distinction of being hauled and unhauled in the same day, because I was at the thrift store and I texted my sister because I know she likes this author, and I was like, hey, do you have this book? Have you read it? And she didn't text me back until after I left, but I just picked it up just in case she would want it because it was only 50 cents. Figured why not? But turns out she has read it, and it was not her favorite by him. She likes Eric Larson, but it was not her favorite by him. And I figured, well, if it's not her favorite, then I probably don't want to read it either. So there's no point keeping it when I have plenty of books I do want to read. So those are my unhauls. And what else for the week? And all together, the books that I bought, it's like less than $10 for all of those, and some really nice editions in there. So I'm pretty happy. That's been one of my most successful book hauls in a while. So I love it. Have it reading to me.